What up, Rons, and welcome to the latest edition of Pro Saints Talk. We finally have our first 2021 game action to break down for Jameis and Taysom both, and we also go position by position, breaking down what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like in the first preseason game, and we look ahead to the christening of the Caesars Superdome this Monday night against Jacksonville. So sit back and turn up Pro Saints Talk.
Look at uptown people like yeah. People up in Britain like yeah. Mid-city folks like yeah. People downtown man yeah.
Where you at, Hoodats? Pro Saints Talk back after a week one preseason L. The wins and losses don't count, but we're going to still break it down like it did because this is how you build a championship, right? In camp, Jay and I know from working that 09 camp what it takes to build a champion. And so we're going to get into those insights for y'all today on this week's Pro Saints Talk. Let's kick it over to Jay first. Jay, how we doing, babe?
Oh, we're doing great, baby. Got those Friday vibes. We used to record about like Wednesday night late, but maybe we're just getting a little bit older and man, we're ready to go. We got some good energy going into this one. We got some criteria material to discuss here, so looking forward to getting into it. How you doing over there on the North Shore, Georgie?
I'm doing great. You know why? Because I got my main man Ron back. Ron, I know I'll give you a hard time, but you can give your brother a hard time because he's going to stick with you. It's hard to do what you do, Ron. I kind of feel like I suffered at it last week. And I'm so happy to have you back, Ron. You know, we give you a hard time. We don't show my dog enough appreciation and gratitude for all the great contributions you bring to this podcast, Ron. We love you. I hope that bar mitzvah went well. I'm sure it did. Let's ride.
Wow, geez, no pressure this episode here. So yes, did have to prep for a joint birthday party for both kids last weekend. You know, just show you all the puppet strings here in my personal life. But yes, couldn't make it on last week. Excited to be back this week, and actually had to play catch up on. I had to catch a replay of this game. You know, because the party was still extending into. They probably didn't pick this up until.
All right, that's enough. Let's go.
Wow. Okay. All right. So look. Let's just start it off with quarterbacks, right? Because if I heard y'all correctly last week, I thought I was going to see big things from Ian Book. And, you know, look, we'll break down. Let's start
That's
off.
Where we're starting?
Let's start off with Jameis and Taysom. Okay. So both quarterbacks I felt like gave you a little bit to like, maybe not, I don't know, maybe a little bit to love even. And then kind of brought you back down to earth with the interceptions. I could argue Jameis's, with maybe if that's Mike Thomas, maybe he comes down with that ball. But it still was a little contested. But okay, George, let's break down your thoughts on Taysom versus Jameis.
I would like to say that neither guy seized the opportunity. They both look good. Neither look great. They both had their moments. Positive and negative. So at this point, the jury's still out. The one thing I do want to harp on is the fact that Taysom Hill isn't using his legs. So if he's throwing as well as Jameis, that tells you a lot because if they're 50-50 or close to even on just the arm strength, then Taysom may, pun intended, run away with this because he's not even using his greatest strength, which is his legs. So if his arm is comparable to Jameis's, this might be clickbait's job to lose. Jay.
Wait, Jay, on that subject, is it comparable? Because I don't know. This is just me picking up on velocities. I think Winston's clearly got the arm strength advantage, right?
Yeah, I think Winston looks more the part of a guy that can sit in that pocket for too long sometimes. But he looks the part more to me of a kind of 90s era big guy, can see over the line of scrimmage, pocket passer, go through progressions, where Taysom did make some good throws, George, in particular, the one where he rolled right, found Callaway on the sideline, and placed the ball accurately to him. Taysom actually looked better than I thought he would look. Obviously, the miscommunication at Ty Montgomery and a little bit of paralysis by overanalysis. You know, we only have such a slim snippet to evaluate of these guys. It's not like either one of them played a ton, so we just have to make the most of the limited snaps that they got. But I'm with you, George. It looked to me like Taysom, in the back of his mind, or maybe in the front of his mind, knows that he's competing for that number one job. It has to be more of a natural quarterback rather than just play his game, and particularly in the preseason where he's being evaluated on that. There was a couple plays where he would take off with the ball, but he kind of hovered behind the line of scrimmage a little bit longer, looking for receivers downfield. So at this point, and from everything I've heard, nobody's running away with this. I think if you're analyzing the play, Winston clearly looked more comfortable as he got in a rhythm and as the game went along. But I didn't like the sacks, and looked a little bit heavy-footed at times. But you're right, it's not bad, but it's certainly not number 9 either. And something that all Saints fans are going to struggle with is comparing the quarterback play now to the guy that we had the last 10, 15 years in Drew Brees.
Can I say one more thing? There's one great snippet from last game, and it was Taysom and Jameis on the sideline, and they were genuinely laughing and getting along. And I haven't said this on the podcast, but one of my major concerns is what happens to the guy who's told he's on the bench. So if Jameis gets the job, how does Taysom react? He's waited so long for this opportunity, Brees to leave, for him to finally have the opportunity, or vice versa. How is the other guy going to react? How is he going to root for the now named starting quarterback? And it seems as though, based off that very brief snippet, that there's genuine support between the two, which really shows you the great chemistry and the love that this locker room has. There's no Joe Flacco's, there's no Jay Cutler's, rubbing their nose to the idea of competing with a backup quarterback.
Well, maybe they can keep that genuine rapport when Ian Book's starting and they're on the sideline together.
So, George, I think that kind of plays to my argument of the 2 episodes ago, where I'm saying that Taysom's ability to contribute outside of the quarterback position would obviously help for his morale if he's not the starting quarterback, right? Because he's still able to have an active role in the offense and help this team win. Not saying that a backup quarterback can't help a team win too, in preparation and on the sidelines. But I just feel like that's going to go over a lot more smoothly if Taysom's the number 2, right? And hey, your comment about not taking off, not using the legs, it's preseason. I'm okay with that. But let's shift over here to wide receivers, where I felt like we had some pleasant surprises. I mean, I thought we had some really nice performances. Marquez Callaway, right? Really good to see him follow up on last season and really come out strong. And then I knocked this guy for his TikTok and social media presence. But Jay, I'm kind of liking the Juwan Johnson move to tight end.
Yeah, he looks the part of that new age flex tight end, more athletic, kind of like Waller and Oakland, same body type, can run. He did look a little bit in the preseason last year. I remember watching him as such a tall target, but is he a guy that can get in and out of routes quickly? He looked more natural to me at that tight end position, and maybe even a guy that, when you had David Thomas as that number 2 tight end several years ago, is he a guy that can play a lot of snaps in there with Troutman, especially with the lack of depth at the receiver position? You just need more guys to be able to spread it around to. So you're right. He was a pleasant surprise that has somewhat flown under the radar in the evaluation of this first preseason game.
Yeah, like I said, I think you hit it spot on. I think his body type fits that role a little bit better. Maybe a little Julius Thomas feel there. I don't want to, get guys too hyped up because, we didn't see Troutman in this game. And so, we don't know what the competition's really going to be like there. But George, just your overall impressions on the wide receivers. I mean, you had little Jordan get in for a score and just, I thought, good contributions all around, except for our boy Chris Hogan, but he's just holding out, right?
Well, Callaway obviously stole the show. And every podcast this season, we're going to say, who's going to step up? Who's going to be that guy? So let's continue monitoring that throughout the preseason. Running back wise, we saw Jones Jr. We saw him play well week 17 in the real deal regular season last year. Can he be another one of these Pierre Thomas, Kyrie Robinson, Chris Ivory, diamond in the rough UDFAs? This is a beautiful tradition that Sean Payton has in the offseason in bringing in these running back UDFAs. Can we do it again? Jones Jr., not a rookie, obviously, but let's see how he can contribute, because Kamara is going to be used so much in the passing game, more like a Darren Sproles, a traditional running back. And Latavius Murray, he's going to get a healthy amount of carries. If he gets banged up, Jones Jr. appears to be that guy. So he's a guy worth monitoring as we head into the season.
And to me, George, he's a lot more attractive than a guy like Devontae Freeman, who's got plenty of tread on his tires and did not look good last Saturday.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think it's tough to really bang the gavel on the grade for the running backs because, yeah, George, you're right. Tony Jones Jr. had some really good flashes, but, I mean, if you're Joel Thomas, running backs coach, you got to be all over these guys this week for putting the ball on the ground 3 times. And, hey, a couple of these guys might not even be on the final roster. You don't even know with Devontae Freeman if he's just going to be a camp body to soak up carries. But Latavius Murray is going to see carries, right? He's going to be our number 2 running back. You can't put the ball on the ground. So that's got to be a point of emphasis this week in practice, and, just uncharacteristic for this team to put the ball on the ground that many times. Usually that's something that we've been fairly blessed with, but, Latavius only had 1 fumble all last year. So, that's just going to be a point of emphasis, but okay. I think we covered good flashes from Tony Jones Jr. in the running game. George, what about that front defensive line? Are we getting a little fool's gold with Onyemata playing here in preseason? Because they looked kind of good out the start, right?
Man, I was so excited. I could tell you were switching over to defense, and I was so eager to talk about linebacker Zach Vaughn. And you threw me the defensive line, which means Jay gets linebacker.
Fine,
okay,
dude. Front seven.
The question that was brought to me. I can handle that. I do love Zach Vaughn. I will say that in a second. Okay, Ron. D-line, no, you want Yamada to go in there and show him how it's done. So I have no problem with him dominating the DT position, because that way you set the standard and then the other guys follow it. So by all means, use the remaining star caps in his system to go full Ron. So yeah, I'm for that. So the other guys can see what the expectations are. But the guy that we all love, the guy that we've never doubted, Marcus Davenport.
Just Davenport.
Showing flashes. We never doubted him. We always knew on the contract year he was going to time to shine. Jadeveon Clowney-esque. Wait till it's time to get paid to play. So let's see if he can build off that. But, wow, we actually saw something out of Davenport. And I know, don't get too excited preseason, but there was something there.
Ron, and
Jansen,
if he was
Jansen,
a Marvel character, he would be Flash.
I laughed out loud when you put out that message that the Davenport Bull Rush is in mid-season form.
Exactly. It's like show me a counter off that move, Marcus.
For real. Come on, man. You haven't gotten that spin move down yet? Give me a dip and rip or something, huh?
Yeah, fake bull rush, dip inside, swim over the outside shoulder, inside shoulder. Let's see it.
Yeah, but Jay, you hit on it last week with Bond being a college sack artist, I feel like we started to see a little bit of that come into maturation in the NFL. I know it's week 1 of preseason, but this is the time to get overhyped and overexcited, right?
Absolutely. But what surprised me, Ron, was his ability laterally in the open field. I mean, he was making tackles in the open field, point of attack, knocking ball carriers backwards. He was all over the place, and he was clearly playing like a guy to me that wasn't thinking and just playing. And man, is that needed from a position of need that everybody's discussed in every which way. And the other guy too, Caden Ellis, the pride of Idaho, Leighton Vander Esch, we might be stealing that wolf call in the Superdome when he makes big plays, because coming off that ACL injury, I thought he looked awfully impressive as well.
Ron, you know that overused adage about linebackers being fast? Like, what good is it if they go in the wrong direction or take the wrong first step? Zach Bond is super fast, going right where he needs to be. Who he looks like is Quan Alexander. So to have these linebackers ball hawking and flying around the running backs and the entire opposition like hornets, it's going to be fun to watch. And we've had great linebacker play before, but with this speed and tenacity, what we thought is going to be a weakness might actually be a strength. And with Zach Bond emerging, and really, like Jay said, a lot of these young linebackers emerging, that may mean we don't really have to rush Quan Alexander in and really let him ease into the position, because it's thin ice with him with his injury history.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's a sight for sore eyes to see, the Caden Ellis coming into maturation here, Zach Bond, that return on that investment finally starting to look like it's going to pay off. And so that's just going to be so nice to have that complimentary feature, just like you said, George, and not have to rush Quan back. So yeah, I agree. That's definitely some cause for excitement. I think it is worth just tempering it a little bit and reminding ourselves that we didn't go up against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. We went up against Trace McSorley and Tyler Huntley. So let's just temper it a little bit that, hey, maybe those linebackers looked fast against McSorley. Who knows what Lamar Jackson would have done to him. But okay. Let's shift it a layer back and kind of on that same subject. You didn't have the starting quarterback for Baltimore really challenging your secondary, but they didn't look terribly vulnerable back there. But George, let's just talk about the continuing revolving door with now Prince Amukamara out, and here we are bringing new bodies in. I think they just brought back Natrell Jamerson in, our former 2018 draft pick, and not Brian Milne, but Brian Mills. So George, I mean, what can we expect here? Is this just going to be the story of camp here with the revolving door of bodies to find starters?
Wait, for you to jump into talking about secondary and talk about guys that haven't played yet, over Debo, Paulson Adebo, looking sticky, looking fantastic out there, Ron. Okay, I know Trace McSorley belongs in the Canadian Football League. And that's not really knocking Trace McSorley. That's more knocking the Canadian Football League. But Adebo was there. Adebo belongs. So before we're worried about who's our fifth cornerback, let's talk about maybe Adebo being our number 2, maybe even our number 1. Because
come on, Ron.
I don't want to go too crazy and say, oh, I'm going to praise him now or glorify him now, crown him now, canonize him now. However, it's competition. He's got to beat out P.J. Williams. That's not hard. P-Rob just retired. Lattimore is going to get suspended. There's not that one guy that has this job by the horns. You really don't have to show much to be the starting corner for this team.
I think with Prince gone, George, there's a crown to be had. But I think it was very encouraging watching Adebo play. What? I think with It was very
Sweet,
encouraging watching a Debo play. He looked confident to me. Sometimes it looked like he got a little bit too handsy, but if we're talking about a third-round pick that was starting the game, albeit without the Ravens' number one guy as a receiver, number one at cornerback, he made some plays on clutch situations, in particular the third down where he was dropping back, transition off that back foot, broke on the ball in a hurry, broke up the pass, and then the other one in the end zone where he had pretty good coverage and denied the touchdown. George, I'm with you. I am very excited about Paulson, and hopefully he continues to evolve and can fill in this role, especially with this looming suspension of Lattimore.
Yeah, I guess, again, I just want to temper it a little bit with – and here we go, upcoming for Monday night. We got the Jags, and you don't really know what you're going to get with their quarterback situation, too, with Trevor Lawrence, rookie. So, we'll see. The tests are going to keep coming, right? And so, but yes, definitely some cause for optimism, or definitely put to bed at least some of our concerns going in there with the secondary. And I think we feel a little comfortable with our safeties, right? I mean, we got some veteran presence back there, albeit it is Boogie's favorite guy, Marcus Williams, and his second favorite guy, Malcolm Jenkins. But, I guess Jay, did you affirm your prediction that this is going to be the best offensive line? I mean, what were your thoughts there on the performance?
Yeah, you talk about a guy like Brian Mills, Ron, and he can be the most unlikely hero of them all, with Armstead with his injury history and Ramczyk being beaten up in past years. This is a guy that started 50 games in his NFL career. I think he's only been playing 5 years out of Louisiana Tech, so look for him to challenge James Hurst as that swing tackle in that Zach Strief role, bringing him in as an extra tackle situationally. But no, I thought Ruiz played really well.
Jay, we gotta edit all that. It's the North Carolina Central cornerback rookie.
Oh shit! Who am I talking about? Willis? I just Googled what Jansen just said. I was like, who the fuck is Jansen talking about? I knew about the corner. All right, Andrew Russell, whoever. No, leave it.
What? We're going to confuse everybody.
We just cleared it up for him, so we'll keep going.
Yeah.
But no, Jay, seriously, let's talk to O-line, because they did have a good day, right?
Yeah, I thought that three interior guys played really well. Whoever was playing tackle played well enough, too, where it wasn't ever a concern, where it seemed like Taysom and Jameis were under extreme duress. Now, the second half with the third, fourth guys might have been a different story, but I think despite not having Armstead and Ramczyk, the offensive line held up well.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing that you were happy to see, George, right? Is Ruiz, I don't think, gave up a pressure. Credit Nick Underhill on that stat review. And that's definitely what we want to see, right? For a guy that we just want to make sure that was the right pick for first round, right?
The question is, we want to make sure that Cesar Ruiz, it's good that he doesn't give up a pressure.
Are you going to do this more often now?
It is good. It is good. No, what's the question? Was it good that Cesar Ruiz didn't give up a pressure? Yes, it is good that Cesar Ruiz didn't give up pressure. But, so the five look good. The starting five look good. The backups didn't. And the backups are going to have to play a role on this team because the offensive line always gets banged up. So you're going to have to see other guys start to shine other than those first five. And it's hard to tell because in that third quarter, it got really ugly. So you can't tell who's playing well and who's not. It just looks like they're all playing poorly. But we need depth at that offensive line. So let's see who beyond Ruiz steps up as well.
Okay. Jay, is now an appropriate time to break down your prediction on Ian Book? Because if he's got
26 minutes in, I think it's an appropriate time to talk about the third listed quarterback.
Because, if we got to book it that this guy is going to be starting a game here in 2021, I'm not feeling too great about that game.
Yeah, but shit, I mean, okay, I wasn't putting my balls on the line saying that this guy's going to be the day one starter. It was more of a tempered take. All right, I wasn't Kellerman out there telling you this is what it's going to be, but on the flip, Ron, he didn't look like Eric Grayson or Canfield either. I thought he showed good presence back there. I thought he went through his progressions. I think there were times where he thought he could use his athletic ability to escape, potentially run, and the speed of the NFL caught up with him. I expect him to be much improved game 2 and getting rid of the ball faster. But there's nothing for me to come off that take. I'm not as optimistic that he could challenge to be the game 1 starter as maybe I was without seeing the first preseason game. But I still think he has a presence. I still think he has poise. The arm strength isn't what Taysom or Jameis brings, but he's a guy that can be in this league for a while based on everything I've heard and what I've seen. And not necessarily as a starter, really good number 2, potentially number 1.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think you're right. I'm giving you a hard time because of the bold take. I love the bold take. I want that to be known. But yeah, I did notice that a couple times too, Jay, where he thought he could scramble and extend the play and ends up taking the sack. So, definitely had some of those first game rookie moments. But he also did make some good throws. So definitely cause for optimism with him. And yeah, maybe he's got a ceiling of a Ryan Griffin, So
wait, guys, I have to jump in. I'm not stat Ron Campbell, but Jay was right. We have a tackle named Jordan Mills in the end of our depth chart. There's
Thank you.
Mills, the La Tech tackle, and
Thank you.
Brian Mills, not the one that may have fallen on the football at the end of our cornerback depth chart. So wait. Everything Jay said was right, and I humbly apologize.
And that's why we're leaving it. All right. I don't really have anything else to cover from the game. I guess in other super important Saints news, I heard that our buddy Chase was asking a good fan question. George, where are we going to be able to find the first box of Alvin Kamara King Crunch cereal?
You will find that at your neighborhood candy. I don't know, Ron. I don't know.
It's at Rouse's. They have it at Rouse's, Ron.
Oh, got to pick me up a box. All right.
Wait, time out. Guys, do we still not have a kicker? That's kind of a big deal, is it not?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, we do not have a kicker currently, a healthy one, that is, going into this week's preseason game. I mean, that just kind of shows you it's preseason, right? I mean, yeah, that would be huge news if it was a regular season, right, George? But it does feel like that's kind of getting
still pretty big news.
No,
you got to kick a 38-yarder out there, and who are you trotting out?
We're miss a field goal in the regular season, and you're gonna say, "Oh, well, it's okay." No, but look, you have to practice the full game now. It's hard to kick field goals in the NFL. Those guys are running fast at you. You need to have this figured out. We don't have a kicker.
How about the Ravens' backup kicker that nailed a 54-yarder?
We're gonna do it again. We're gonna poach.
Yeah, I was like, where do you think Will Lutz came from?
Exactly. We're gonna poach the Ravens backup again, but we have to do these things now.
Yeah, George, I look, I'm sorry. I guess that's my take is, if it was an emergency, you would just go for it every 4th down and it wouldn't be a big deal. Yes, you would miss out on all those game reps of trying out kickers, but, that's the Saints' prerogative in a preseason game. But yes, obviously they'll get some bodies in here. We'll practice PAT and field goal and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'm with y'all. That backup kicker. By the way, like, what other team does that, right? You've got is Justin Tucker still the most accurate kicker in NFL history? And they are perennially throwing out backup kickers in preseason, just showing off to the league how good they are at developing these guys and finding these guys.
No, I think every team does that primarily across the league, just for a guy like Tucker to save him a break for his leg during camp, so he's not doing every kickoff, every field goal.
Kickoffs, I get, but
no accident.
I got to go back and brush up on that. I mean, you telling me like last preseason we were giving Will Lutz reps off on field goals?
Ron, no. The answer is hardball. Harbaugh is one of the very few head coaches of all time to rise from a special teams coordinator to a head coach. So it's no miracle that they're great at grooming kickers. This is his forte.
That's a good point. That's a good point, George. Good take there. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we did not collect fan questions for this one besides that one from Chase there on Alvin Kamara King Crunch. So what, if any, questions do y'all have for the host that has returned? Any?
Yeah, we know Onyemata played well. I want to see who's going to step up specifically on the interior defensive line going forward to give us some relief in Onyemata's absence. So that's what I'll be watching, Ron. I'd like your take on that as well. And then I thought the D end from Kansas City that we signed, he got a little banged up in the game, but I thought he looked promising as well.
That's a good point, Jay. And I probably didn't bring his name up because I have no idea how to pronounce it. But yeah, to know, is it just P or do you is the K silent? I'm not sure. I'm not even really. I'll give it an attempt here. Passignon. Yeah, he looked pretty fast on the edge. I will say, like I saw some plays where he's definitely getting some pressure. So, maybe that was a signing that people didn't really recognize that name, but that could be a bit of an impact player for us. But yeah, Jay, I mean, I think I don't know enough to make a bold prediction here on who might step up here on the interior line. I think we're just still looking for contributions, steady contributions from Malcolm Roach and Shai Tuttle to not get terribly out of position and just soak up those blocks. But you can't rely on too much actual interior pressure from those guys.
Ron, I'm glad you didn't bring up Mike Thomas. That was a good subject to avoid after we hammered that to death last week. But I did feel
thanks for bringing it up.
He looked a bit ominous, like the bad guy on the sideline. Maybe I was just projecting. But as many of you know, we got a silver medal in last weekend's pickleball tournament. Shout out to Zandy Randall, my partner. But here. That's not my point. My point is this. When you go around town talking to people at the tournament around New Orleans, around Louisiana, everyone right now is so pessimistic about this team. And I get it. There's holes, but we need a little optimism going into this year because, as we have the first two episodes really pointed out the potential vulnerabilities and pitfalls, there's even more to like based off of that week 1 preseason game. That was a Rob Ryan defense. That's really hard to go up against. So we showed that was
Rob Ryan
that nobody laughed at. But there's promising news and developments in those positions that we thought we were weak, namely Bond and Adebo. So watching these guys emerge is going to be beautiful about this season.
Yeah, George, I think we always have to kind of bring ourselves back down to earth a little bit and remind ourselves that, all drama aside, you got the potential to have an all-pro wide receiver, an all-pro running back, and multiple all-pros on the offensive line on this team. So you're going to have a strong offense, or at least you have the potential to have a really high ceiling for this offense. So definitely good to remind the Rons of that one. All right.
And I have another fan question for you, Ron.
Okay.
This is from Clinton Ponchame. With the vaccine mandates of the city and Gail Benson and the organization following suit, with fans being allowed in the dome, but vaccination cards being used to show proof that you need to enter the stadium, what can we expect the Superdome atmosphere to be like this year? Thank you, Clinton.
Boy, tough one, right? I even saw that they had to kind of backtrack on their position a little bit where, they're now going to offer refunds if you absolutely don't want to conform. But I heard the catch is you're not going to have the same benefits as last year where they'll roll you over to next year and keep your rights to the seats. I heard you going back to the back of the line on the waiting list.
Yeah, and supposedly thousands of fans calling in to snatch up those tickets.
Yeah, and yeah, right. How about that sales tactic from Bensel there? Yeah, and you know what? We'd love to have those hungry fans in there rather than these complainers. Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a sales tactic, I'm sure, but yeah, very unpredictable of what the atmosphere is going to be. Right? I mean, are the masks going to dampen the noise meter? Because that's really going to perturb Slug. You know, DJ Doug the Slug. If we got, if we're not able to crack that 105 decibels. And we're going to be blaming masks here in terms of limiting the home field advantage, right? So I even heard some creative ideas from the Godfather that we need to bring the beer helmets back so that we can perennially have the straw in the corner of the mouth and maybe bypass the mask mandate. So I'm sure that these fans are going to get creative on how we can make some noise in that dome and keep that atmosphere lively.
That's genius. That's really, really clever. I always thought as long as you have, a box of popcorn in your hand, I'm eating. What can you do, lady? But the beer helmet with the constant straw to the mouth is brilliant. But wait, this isn't right what the Saints did, because all offseason when they're calling to get you to renew, they're promising, hey, our goal, our aim, our direction, we're getting it back to 100%, back to the experience that you're accustomed to. And then when the payments are finalized, then they say these are the restrictions, you must get vaccinated. And a lot of that is the government mandate. But the Saints were saying one thing when they're trying to get your money and a very different tune afterwards. And that's not proper business. I'm not going to bite the hand that feeds with the Saints. We're all very pro-Saints, obviously, the name of the podcast. But that wasn't the best handled situation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, easy for us to say here, right, in the fan shoes. You just got to remind yourself, George, as you know very well in this offseason, that the Saints owe you nothing, right? And it's truly a one-way relationship that just happens to provide us some entertainment here. So, yeah, it's and hey, this could all be a different story here in a couple of weeks. That's the crazy thing about it. It's constantly evolving situation. But, hey, this almost feels like this is ending on a low note. I feel like this was a lot of fun knocking out the Friday morning recording. Really appreciate getting back on here and giving you all a little hard time on the takes. George, I see you're still holding me to the gold standard of running point here and making sure these questions get out efficiently. And we just ask the question, Ron, and let
go.
You
the man, Ron.
I hope you have a good Costco run today.
Hey, Ron, give one last question to Jay before we go. What's the name of our first round pick?
You're asking me or Jay?
Peyton Turner. Duh.
Very, very good. Peyton Turner. All right, Ron, we don't have a weather report.
What is this, amateur hour?
Yeah,
no, he got it wrong last week. That was the joke. You got it mad that we didn't fix that. But
you can count on the three of us holding our brother accountable on this podcast.
That's right. All right, Ron, we love you. UTO Monday night. Let's get it.
Let's ride.
Hey, yo.
Going on 4th and 14, will punt it away. He hangs it very high, angling it for the near sideline. Hakeem drops the ball! Hakeem drops the ball! Brian Mills might have fallen at the 10-yard line. You gotta be kidding me. The New Orleans State football, Brian Mills, the most unlikely hero of them all. Falls on the fumble, the muff by Hakeem. There is a God after all. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Oh, Hakeem was a little bit too casual just